Welcome back to Career Build Series, episode number 69, and so we're back where we left off. Last time we were actually in the Career Build Series save, so we're towing the barge back. Last episode when we actually went out and did this barge mission, went out, sold a bunch of jet fuel. I have $180,000 in cash in the bank, plus we're going to be putting this tugboat in the barge away. If you've been watching the last week or so, I've been working on a new seaplane called the Seagull. It's it's kind of inspired by my challenge there. So I have the Build Challenge Delta going on presently. It is going for another 10 days. And so that is to build an amphibious either seaplane or helicopter. So an amphibious air vehicle. So it needs to operate on land, it needs to operate on the water, and it needs to operate in the air. And so have that going, and so I kind of got inspired myself to build a new seaplane. Also just needed it. If we look at the missions that are up, have a ton of missions here that would be really good with seaplane. We have a search and rescue, we have a fire. So it'll be a nice tool in the toolbox to dart around, so you can watch those episodes if you like to kind of catch up on the build there. Very complicated build. I've been spending the last couple days just working through panels. The cockpit is always one of the longest or the biggest time investments for me, because as somebody who was a commercial pilot, I really nitpick, and I want a lot of features, and I want a lot of intricacies, and that takes some time. I also had to redo the panels multiple times to get them numbered correctly, and so that's all done now, and so that's going well. We just received today, as the date of recording, the new rope update, so I'm really pleased with that. That's awesome. We can adjust the length of ropes. I'll show you here. I did a video on it, but if we look here, we can grab this rope, and if I press the B, I want to make sure, if I look at my deck, we'll return to workbench, so I want to make sure I look up, and as you can see, if I put the rope on me, I can change the length in meters. So if I go to 1, if I see it says I have to move closer to attach this rope anchor, if I move closer within a meter, I can attach. If I pull away, as you notice, now I cannot move anymore. So this is a really cool feature. Let's go up to, I gotta look up just so I don't recall the vehicle, but I can click to this winch. Now I only have 2 meters, and I can hook to this rope anchor. So that's a really cool feature. I think that's awesome. They also reduced the drinky poo. Also reduced the rope stretch. So the ropes used to stretch a lot more, so they stretch less. This is going to be great for building cranes and doing tugboat stuff and all sorts of different applications. It's going to be really nice to not have that rope stretch. A lot of people were putting winches on their boats just to keep them docked, because it's hard to keep them docked when you had a bunch of rope stretch. And so now it's going to be really great. So I think this is an awesome update. They've been really doing some really good quality of life updates, and so where credit is due, certainly to the devs, they've done a great job on that. I see a lot of people just constantly complaining at them. When they do something great, they need a pat on the back, and so this is my pat on the back to them. So let's go ahead and let's do a mission. So let's use the Seagull. I've been chomping at the bit to get this done. And so if we look here, we have a mission that's going to expire soon, 26 minutes. So the airport building, there is a fire, and so there's a bunch of passengers inside too. So we have most of what we need for this. Let's go ahead and open up the Seagull. So latest version of the Seagull. Never done. Nothing's ever done. So I just actually did some tail art. So some Seagull on the tail now. One thing we're going to need is we have one fire extinguisher. So what I want to make here is quickly a module that will be my rescue module. So just something quickly I can throw on this. I still need to put a winch in here. I'm going to probably maybe do an overhead track right here with a winch on it. I'm not sure, either that or I'll just put a winch in here, and that way I can winch on modules. So let's just make one really quick, and let's grab it. So let's do grippers. So I really wish these grippers were not too high, 2 blocks high. It's just, they're too big, and so it makes it difficult to do some of these builds if they're this big. So let's go ahead and we'll stick the grippers in here. I will end up adding this sort of equipment, but this is just, I'm going to make a little toolbox with all the equipment we need. All right, and so let's go like so. Just kind of make a frame on this. Come on, come on, come on. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me, guy. All right, let's do that. Actually, you know what? Let's not. Let's do this instead. I have a better idea. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and we'll do selection grid. And we'll bring in my little car that I built for this. All right, good. So little car is now coming in. And this will go right in the middle here. And that is on the money. Okay, good. So let's put this in there. We'll paste this. And I will go ahead and I will rope this in. I have no ropes on the car yet. Okay, let's do that. So let's do symmetry. Ropes. All right, and then I have to be careful in the back here. These should be available. Certain stuff I have that I can't cut, so should be able to put them there, no problem. Let's go ahead and we'll do rope logic. I might have to tighten these up, but I can use the new system to tighten these up. So that will go there. In real life, you'd do cross, so you'd go from this one to this one, this one to this one. That keeps it from twisting, but in game, that can cause some bad physics stuff, so we don't want to do that. So that's now locked down. So I need some first aid kits here. Let's see where we're at in the body here. So under here, I believe I can cut. So let's go ahead and let's cut here, here, and here. All right, good. Let's take off symmetry. Let's do a fire X. All right, and so that's in. I want a defib on this side. Defibrillation on that side. And then a couple first aids. All right, now we're ready for a mission, I think. So this will get us all set to go and help these people out. All right, nice. I could have had symmetry on for that one. All right, right there and there. All right, nice. So that's ready. Let's go ahead and we will launch this. So a little bit of mass in the back. It's not a ton. All right, beautiful. So this is ready. Let's go ahead and jump on. Ooh, crunch. So I do have to get wet. I might add another hatch so I don't have to get wet, but that doesn't really bother me. I do want to put in a pump-out system. I might do a manual pump-out system. That would be kind of cool. All right, so now see that we have a little bit of rope sag here. And so if we grab the rope and we look, I'm trying to look somewhere where I'm not going to get the return workbench. Right there. So if I press B, I did it. All right, I'm not going to be able to do it inside the build. That's just going to be a problem because if you press B while you're at the workbench, that secondary key will put you in. It will put the vehicle back in, and I need that to shorten the rope. So I can't do that. But this is attached pretty well. As you can see, it's not moving all that much, so we're pretty good. Let's get out of here. Yeah, we don't have a ton of time to screw around because that mission is ticking. So this is set up very realistically. I've used my experience as a professional pilot to do this, and so battery 1 and 2 are on. Let's say I don't turn the batteries on, so this panel is always powered. The rest of the panels, as you can see, zero electric, they're not powered. So I need to select or both batteries. I need to turn on the systems. Once I turn on the systems, you see it powers everything. Avionics comes on. As you see, we get backlights and avionics. Then we want to come down here, and if we wanted to connect to the ground power unit, we connect to that. If we want to connect our APU generator, we connect that after starting our APU. We're not going to do that next. Check our batteries, make sure we have enough for a start. Our voltage, as you can see, we're losing battery. We have negative volts because, we have nothing powering currently. Beacons coming on to tell people we're going to start the engines. We want to come up this panel. This is called a flow. We're flowing through our panels. Fuel, check fuel, make sure we have enough fuel for a start. Make sure they're within balance. They are. They're within 100 pounds. Let's go ahead and let's turn on fuel valve 1. And let's start engine 1. We want to monitor manifold pressure and RPM. Once that's up and running, we want to turn on generator 1 and hydraulics 1. Hydraulics will be coming up. If we don't have enough hydraulics, we will have reduced effectiveness on our control surfaces. All right. Next, we want to do fuel valve 2. Let's spin 2. Manifold pressure and RPM are stabilized. We want to go generator 2 on, and we want to go hydraulics 2. Now, you'll notice we'll still have a little bit of a discharge. We have about half the discharge we did, and that's because we're at low RPM. Once we spool up the engines, the alternators will go. You actually get that on ground. You actually get a discharge often on the ground. All right, so hydraulics pressure is building up. As you see, we need at least 1,500 PSI, or we will have a clamp on our control surfaces. We have less control surface. Let me make sure we're trimmed. So let's trim to about a negative 0.3. That's going to help us take off in the water. We're doing a water takeoff. I need to make a full checklist here. So that's going to do, we want to release the parking brake, and we want to raise the landing gear. So gear is coming up and is going to stow in the bays. You see, they're in transit. Now they're up and locked. Okay, good. They actually don't lock. I should put up locks, but they're currently up in the bays. All right, now we're going to go 1 notch of flaps. All right, and we're going to start taxiing out. So I disconnected the roll on the propellers. That's one trick you can do so you can actually get a little bit more effectiveness and steer in the water. Well, I don't need that. I have 2 propellers. So I'm going to start spooling up my engines here. And what I'm going to do is I want to go forward, but I also want to turn left a little. So what do? I start backing off on the number 1. And this is how we actually would steer in multi-engine airplanes. We would call walking the throttles. You put them both in your hand, and if you're going to make a left turn, you would push up the right side, and you would keep the left side down a little bit, and then you would walk it the other way, and so you'd walk your throttle. So what I can do is go back into all the way into reverse and back forward, and now they're synced again. So that's how I sync them. So now, as you can see, we're going straight ahead. So let's go ahead and take off. So I want to make sure my trim is around a 0.3 is good. So it's set to 0.3. I'm going to preset my altitude. We're only going to go to 1,000 feet. It's a short flight. Heading is going to be current heading, which is 320. So 320 is our current heading. That's going in there. I'm also going to set up my waypoint. So I want to come over here. So let's go up to here, and we'll land to the south. All right, so that's going in. Set waypoint. All right, good. That's in. As you can see, that's 13 nautical miles. We're going to go altitude hold, heading hold, pre-select, and we are ready for takeoff. So we want to go nav. Logo can stay off. Strobes, taxi. Taxi can stay off in the water, and landing lights are on. So here we go. Full throttle. Engines start to scream. And with that trim set in, it's set in perfectly for taking off in the water. Positive rate. Gear is already up. So we're going to retrim. Every time you do a pitch power setting, you need to trim. All right, autopilot's coming on. We're going to go nav GPS, and then we're going to deselect heading hold, and it's going to turn to our GPS. All right, we're going to look at the, as soon as we turn out on that heading, we're going to also back it up with our set heading. All right, so we're at full throttle. I'm going to start, I'm not going to bother bringing the propellers back. If we're going to go for a cruise, if we're going to go up the Arctic, if we're going to go anywhere that was going to take us a little bit, I would start bringing my prop levers back. In an airplane like this, you'd have mixture prop and throttle levers. Your throttle controls your manifold pressure, essentially your engine power. Your props control your RPM by changing the angle of the propeller. You're putting more load in the engine. If you give it more prop pitch, it will cause more load on the engines and reduce your RPM. So that'll be more efficient. Now that we're in the air, landing lights coming off and flaps. As soon as we go over 100, we can bring our flaps up. I'm sorry, I brought them down. We can bring our flaps up, but I didn't do it. So we're going there. As you can see, we're 8 nautical miles. We're 6 minutes away. Let's see how long we have for this mission. 26 minutes, so we're good. We have to get rid of them, too. We have to get them back to wherever they're going to go. So one of the reasons I brought the cart was I'm going to probably come up here and land by this hospital, or I'm trying to think where my, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to come up and I'll land at O'Neill, and I'll run the car off and I'll drive them up there. We might not make them on time. That cart can go 90 miles an hour, so I'm not worried about that being too slow. All right, so we're up to, what are we at here? 2.6. We're probably at 2.6 because I have too much trim in. Yep. Okay, so we overshot our altitude, and the reason is this autopilot was set up for that twin-engine seaplane I made before, the one with the forward-aft propellers, the inline twin. And it's a much smaller airplane, so the control surfaces didn't need as much deflection. So I need to go in the autopilot and increase the deflection on the control surfaces, because this is a bigger plane. It can take more control surface movement. So let's look ahead there. We have an island. We'll do a little bit of VFR navigation here. We also have GPS, but that looks like the Diesel Island. So if we look at our map, it had a dock sitting off the end of it. Maybe it isn't. Oh, we're way the hell up here. So it has a dock sitting off the end of it. That is the Diesel Island. So as you can see, you can spot it from the air. 12 o'clock there, we have another island. Just from the shape of it, that's a runway. That's a tall peak there. There's another peak here. If we look on our map here, that would be this right here. That's the Coast Guard outpost. So we're headed towards just to the north of Coast Guard outpost. As we come up here, then we're going to turn south and we're going to do a visual landing onto runway 18. Alright, so let's see. Fuel's looking good, so I'm going to check my fuel balance. So this one here, so we're within 20 pounds. So I can cross feed, but I don't need to. We're within 20 pounds. I still need to hook up my fuel flow, so I need to do the formula for that. It's pretty much, you know, you need to, you know, it's sampling it every tick, so you need to find out how many ticks are in a minute. And that's going to be pounds per hour, so this is pounds. And so essentially you see how many pounds are coming off in a tick, how many ticks are in an hour, and then you report to the dial, and that will tell you your fuel flow per how many pounds per hour you're burning. So we have about, when we start, we have 9,000 pounds per side. So if these were reading 9,000 each, that tells us we have an hour. If it's reading 4,500, we have 2 hours. If it's reading, what would have that be? 2250, that would mean we have 4 hours of endurance. You know, 12.5, we would have 8 hours of endurance. 8 hours of endurance. I'm trying to do it quickly in my head. All right, so very nice. I turned up the view distance. I had shut the view distance way down. It's on max now, which is beautiful. Again, I can actually see things. And that was because I was trying to figure out that FPS thing, but I have had no FPS issues since I got rid of my ADFs. So, you know, some people are asking why I don't fake them. I'm going to probably end up having to fake them. The issue is this. The whole point of the ADF is, the way the add-on works is, so this is my current seed. It's 192837. And so I did this so that I'd have some really nice southern islands here. And I want them kind of away. You know, I really like, personally for me, arid biome should be like 100 nautical miles down here. This should be 100 nautical miles up there. And then I want these islands like 50 nautical miles around. That would be ideal for me to actually have to go distances. But anyway, so we have seeds. So with the add-on, each of my ADFs, they're stuck to the particular island. The problem with making it so that, you know, it's all in the system is, with the add-on, let me just see where we're at here. We are currently 1.3 nautical miles. Okay. So I can see it right there. So I'm going to just go visually. But anyway, so the ADF shacks, they report their current position. Well, they're tied to the actual island. So what that allows you to do is, no matter what seed you had, it would always make the ADFs work. If I make them so they currently report a faked GPS position, the issue is when you do a different seed, well, the islands change, and because the island's position changes, the system wouldn't work. So you'd have to update it every time you did a different seed. Now, I keep the same seed pretty much, so it would be fine for me, but it wouldn't work for anyone else. So the system, you know, I wanted to release the system so that people could use it, and then no matter what seed you had, it would always have them on their particular island. So like the Coast Guard ADF was always on that Coast Guard island, no matter where it is in the world. All right, we're going to start slowing down here. So you don't want to get what's known as behind the airplane. So gear's coming down. You want to do your gear first. Gear helps with drag, not in game, but we're going to go full flaps. They don't come straight down like a lot of people's builds. Mine, They're on an up-down counter, so they actually take some time to come down. I have my anti-flap system in there, so it's both flaps and anti-flaps, so that it adds a lot of drag. So it has a realistic amount of drag. So you'll notice that my deck angle, so the pitch angle that I have to keep to maintain a certain sink rate, is probably higher than a lot of people's. And so, and I might have to reduce it just a hair because my deck angle is a little bit high for me, and that's because this was on the Cap Air jet. So the Cap Air jet is bigger, longer, heavier, and so this is actually working all right, but I might tune it just a little bit. All right, so we're coming in here. We're on final for 1-8. Parking brake off. Landing lights coming on. We're clear to land. Taxi lights coming on. We're clear to land. Gear is down. Oh, gear is not down. Okay. Let's put the gear back up and cycle it. So that's the last thing you want to check before you land. You want to make sure you have gears down 3 green. I have been having some issues lately with the gear. I don't know why they're misbehaving. It's probably a clipping issue. As you can see, it's hitting some doors. So let's go ahead and fix our gear. So we want to go around. So we're going to do a go around. So go around would be max thrust. Positive rate, gear comes up. Over 100 knots, flaps coming up. And I can suck them all the way up there because you notice, see how slow they're going? And you notice we just get a big pitch up attitude. Again, every time we do a pitch or a configuration change, pitch power or configuration change, we need to retrim. All right, so let's go. I'm going to retrim for level flight here. I'm going to dump my gear. Hopefully we can get some gear to go down. I have been having issues with this. So I think they're getting stuck. They were working beautifully for a long time, and now they're starting to bind up. So what I might need to do is put in some uplocks. I might have to do something. They're not timed. They're actually based on the position. So the doors should be working on position. I need to watch my altitude, 1,000 feet. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to try doing them in a turn. I'm going to see if I can G them out. You actually do this in real life. If the gear won't come out, you'll pull some G's. What you usually do is you descend, and then you'll pull a handle often that will it will open up the hydraulic valves. And so you do a descent. I'll simulate it. So you go gear up, and I'll simulate it. It's not going to probably work, but we'll try it. So we're going to go, and then what we do is we go gear down, and we would drop the nose, and then we'd pull up hard, and it's using gravity to help get the gear up, but they're not working. The nose wheel's coming down, the mains are not. So let's go ahead, and luckily we're a seaplane. So we're going to come and we're going to land in the water here, and we'll do this mission from the water. The benefits of a seaplane. So I don't know why the gears give me problems. They were working beautifully for a long time. I have redone the panels like 9 times, so could have screwed something up. I could have screwed up the hardpoint lock. I doubt it, but something is up. You know, they don't lock in the up position. They might work better if they lock in the up position. So I'm going to keep the gear up. All right, and we're going to turn back. Okay, so now they're up. So yellow is transit, so red is up and locked. Yellow is transit, so I have 1 yellow for the nose wheel, and I have 1 yellow for the main. So if you see them at different rates, that's why I do that. That's how it would be in real life, and that will tell you if you have something, for example, like the nose wheel came down, but the mains are not coming down. So I will fix that. So turning back here towards the island, and we're just going to land just south of the island, or just north of the island here. Island is to our south. All right, so let's go ahead, and we're going to start doing, set up for a sea landing. So we're going to start bringing our thrust back. Flaps are coming in full under 120. So if you look, Basilicious made these instruments. I love Basilicious's instruments. I also put in Basilicious's radar altimeter. And so you can go in there and you can set up your airspeed indicator to be realistic. And so, for example, the white arc starts pretty low here, and then it goes up, and that's your max flap speed. So whatever your max flap speed is, the white arc will go to your max flap speed, telling you, hey, don't put your flaps down until you get below that speed. And then that's my balloon system coming in here. There we go. All right, and I'm just going to power up a little bit and taxi in fast. And so your white arc, you don't want to put your flaps in until, because you'd break them if you go over a certain speed often. And so that's the beginning of the white arc, on the top of the white arc, rather. Your green is your normal operation range. So you notice I was coming in at the bottom of the green arc. That's around my stall speed. Yellow is starts getting your caution range. A lot of planes don't have it. You can go right up to your VNE. Your VNE is V is velocity, so it's your V speeds are your different speeds, and NE is never exceed, so that's your maximum speed. So we're going to go into beta. Beta puts the prop blades to flat, and that keeps them from pushing us. We naturally will have like a 0.25 prop pitch, and so that would, especially in the water, would keep us going. So a lot of turboprops have this. You go into beta. So we go into beta, and I'm ready to shut down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on up, and I'm going to shut off fuel valve 1. All right, that's coming down. I'm going to shut off the generator, and I'm going to shut off the hydraulics. Now, in real life, if the clutches were still attached, that would make the engine shut down faster because it has resistance on them. We're going to go ahead and shut down fuel valve 2. And we can hear 2 coming down. You see the manifold pressures crashing. I'm going to go ahead and shut the Gen 2 off. And we would also shut off hydraulics 2. And you can see the hydraulics pressures coming down. If the engine shuts down, the hydraulics will automatically come down. That's part of the system. If it goes below, I believe it's 2 RPS, the hydraulics will fall. And you'll lose hydraulics, and we can have actual hydraulic failures in this. All right, so that's off. Let's go ahead and shut some lights we don't need off. And so the only ones we're going to leave on is we'll leave our beacon or our nav light on just so nobody runs into us. And this is important. We're going to come up here. I'm going to shut off battery 2. And the reason is this one you see this one's burning? This is our hot bus. So battery 1 automatically runs a bunch of stuff. Battery 2 we just shut off. Notice it's not going down. So if we stayed there for too long and this one used up a ton of battery, well, guess what? We can still start our engines on this and regenerate electricity. So that's a realistic system there. All right, so we're going to go in the back here. I have too many ropes. Let me see. Let's go. I'm going to attach this rope just to get rid of it. I need my fire extinguisher, and I want a couple first aid kits. There we go. All right, let's go ahead, and we'll jump out of this bad John. I should probably put a handle out on the wing to help me get out. All right, so sits beautifully in the water. Sits exactly how I want. Sitting on the pontoons nicely. It is, you notice it has a little bit of nose pitch up. That helps you from crashing into the water and nosediving. It will also help with getting out of the water. You're already starting with a positive angle of attack on your wings, which will help you climb out. All right, so I was hoping to land on this one, but this is going to be kind of a pain. We can actually get closer, I think. I think Olson has a... So we can go right to Holt Town, so we'll land in the water. I was going to take the car in, but we'll land in the water. So if you notice, the new rope system, which came out today, it's excellent. I'm able to keep that car. Normally that car would be sliding all over the place because it would be a very big struggle for me to try to get... to make sure there's no slack on the ropes. And you often have to pull too much tension on there, which will cause physics issues if you use winches to try to winch the vehicle tight. And so this is actually a really great way to do it, is to get the connectors where they actually belong. All right, so let's get this mission done here. We have everything we need, and we'll go do it. My flashlight is dead. All right, so let's put this out. It would have been nice if I could have gone right to it. But having that gear issue, I have to figure that out. So we'll do that off screen. But hello, people. Let's go ahead and put this fire out. So I'm really happy to get back to missions, but the Seagull is working really well. The panel and the systems were very complicated, so they took some time. But I think it's a more rich experience if you have a vehicle that is a little bit complex and it has some systems that you have to kind of worry about. And I could have gone down into the living quarters of the Seagull and got the firefighting coat to kind of protect me from fire, but I think we'll be all right here. All right, good. Fire's out. There's 3 beans. Let's you come with. Let's go upstairs real fast, and we'll get all these people here. So, what did it say? 4? I think it said 4. Let's check. 4. Okay, hello, people. So you need a tug of this. You need a tug of that. You guys follow me? Okay, good. Let's go down here. So that's 2. And then, are you coming? You're coming. And then, are you coming there, madame? Okay, good. And so those 2 people were the only people that were injured. Thanks for all the help there, guy. All right, so we need to go over to the Seagull and get these people on board. So hopefully it doesn't turn into a pain, because there's quite a few of them, and I have to get in and out. I cannot really open the back door. The back door is sealed up, so I can't open that while we're in the water. I could open the ramp if we're not in the water. I don't have any seating for these people. I will eventually put in some seating in the cargo bay, but yet to do that. Systems has literally taken me days of work, you know, probably, I don't know, 16 hours of work just on systems, getting the panels correct, getting all my systems integrated. A lot of it had to do with me starting over. You know, if system's not working the way I want it, or you know, I moved where the starts are. I had them kind of like a 737, a 747 start, 75. Most of the Boeing stuff has the starters right behind the thrust levers. I had that initially, and then I wanted them on the ceiling. So I changed that up, and then I had to fill the space. Oh, come on. I'm missing 2. You guys, do me a favor and stay there. Thanks. The AI is not terrible, but it's rudimentary. You know, I see people constantly complaining about that, and it's one of those elements I understand, and I think would be great if the AI was awesome and you could just say, hey, follow me, man, and they always followed you. But it's also a thing, it's like, there are so many other things that I would rather them work on. It's like, and I think part of it's using your imagination, too. It's like, you know, I can use my imagination, and you know, they do a reasonable job. They jump when you jump, so sometimes they get in better than the AI in a lot of games. They're just kind of, you know, they're hollow and dead, but it's like, you know, I think it would annoy a lot of people too if they were always just running around and you had to like try to find them as they move around, and they glitch into things. They walk into the propeller of your plane, and they would fall off your boat. And so I think it's to a certain extent better that they're a little bit rudimentary and they just kind of stay put, because that makes it, I think, so that you know, they're manageable. So they're kind of they're mannequins. That's one criticism people always have, is they're mannequins. But you know, a mannequin, it kind of sits still and does what you tell it to. Sit there. You're good. Okay. And then let's see. Trying to see if I could just get these people without getting out. I kind of do need a handle, I think, to get in and out a little bit without having to jump perfectly. Because right now I have to jump perfectly to get out. So let's see. So I'm just gonna no clip out, and I'll put a handle there so I can get out more accurately. But the ladder lets me get in accurately. Kind of have to clip through the wall a little bit, but that's just the way the game does it. I noticed some of my seats are backwards there, so let's try to see if I can jump out this way. Just trying it. Okay, so I'm not going to bother. So it's the angle is kind of doing it to me. So reason 9 million why I put that creative menu on. It's easy, and it's not frustrating to do it this way, where you could see how it could easily be frustrating if you didn't have that on. I'd spend forever trying to get out. The cat's trying to be in all my videos now. He got a taste of it last video, and he likes to bring me his toys and scream at me. So you might be able to hear him in the background. A couple people heard him last video and pointed him out. But he is it's late, and he's starting to hunt all of his toys. So, oh, excuse me. I thought I put you in a seat there, madame. There you go. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll give you that. You see, some of my padded seats are backwards. All right, you take that. You're all set. Okay, so let's get going. Get getting. Right, so one of the reasons why I love a multi-engine airplane is, one, it's more complicated. So, you know, that tends to be me. I like a complicated system. So let's go ahead. If you look, our batteries are down to 77%, right? If we let this get low, right, we can still have battery 2. Battery 2 is still at 97.45 where we left it. So we turn that on, go through, as you see, voltage is popping up. Fuel valve, start it up. All right, we're going to go generator 1 and hydraulics 1. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my number 1 in reverse. You can barely see it, but there's a yellow light. So this prop is in reverse. And that's, you can see it just gently turning us. So we're going to start by doing that. We're ready for 2, so if I start in beta, we have less resistance in the props too. It helps us to start. Alright, 2's up, generator on 2's coming on, hydraulics is coming on. Flaps should go to flaps 1 for takeoff. Trim should go to point 3 for takeoff. Okay, and you really have takeoff trim. We used to have a takeoff trim of 7 in the Embraer 145, and so you'd have to make sure it was set to number 7. And you would do what's known as a takeoff config. You'd press a button if your flaps weren't in the correct position, if your trim was not in the correct position, if your, I think, was a PAX, something else, if it was not in the correct configuration, it would tell you takeoff, you know, it would tell you, I forget what it'd say, but if everything was right, it would say takeoff, okay. And so that means you were ready for takeoff. I don't need taxi light on in the water. All right, so we're ready to go here. So what I can do is I can bring both back into reverse and then bring them back into beta, and that evens them out. So you see they're both at the even amount. So let's go ahead and we're going to set up for flight. So let's go to 2,000 feet. Yep, 2,000 feet. And we want to go to a heading of whatever we're headed now. So it should be 17, no we're not, 074. I was going to say 174, we're not. 74. And so we're ready to go there. We want to take off that. We want to put altitude hold and heading hold pre-selected. Those won't turn on until we actually turn on the GPS. And then we're going to just set a GPS waypoint there. So we're going to put that in our GPS system. And we're ready to go. So let's go and take off. So parking brake is off. Gear is up. And we're ready for takeoff here. So let's go. So there comes the power. Airspeed's alive. V1, rotate. All right, as soon as we get in the air, we need to retrim. Positive rate, gear is already up. Over 100 knots, flaps are coming up. All right, autopilot is engaged. I could hand fly, but I'm gonna set the autopilot. Next, we're gonna do nav GPS, and it's gonna turn us, hopefully, it won't turn us until I shut off heading hold. Heading hold comes off. So I have to deselect that. That takes priority, that takes precedence. And so we're going to set the trim back to 0 with the autopilot. All right, good. We've taken off. Landing lights coming off. We do a checklist for this, but I'm not going to bother. The rest of the lights stay on. You keep your beacon, nav, and strobes on. You can do logo. Logo would just light up the Seagull, and there'll be a tail number up there as well. I might put the tail number actually on the booms. I have to see if I have enough space to put them on the booms. There's a little bit more real estate there. I can probably put a bigger tail number on. All right, so that is, so we're currently turning to it. You see it's 315. We're only at a 020. So the reason why the time is so high is because we're not actually pointed where we're going. So, you know, we're kind of side strafing towards it. So it's, of course, going to take a long time. Once we point straight at it, we're going to go. So this time, you see we're at full throttle. We have max manifold pressure. Now what we're going to do is start reducing our propeller. So what we're doing is increasing the pitch, which will give us a bigger bite of the air, but it will also add resistance to it. So we will get to our we'll get to our maximum, our max speed. So we have best speed, which is a certain prop setting. I have to fix the pit a little bit. I get a little jitter through one of the RPM ranges. I need to fix that. All right, so we're gonna just gently reduce, and you'll notice that we start to get, I passed the max speed, but that's all right. We're gonna go to max endurance. Max endurance is your next number. Or max endurance is another setting where you essentially, you're bringing your propeller levers and you're pushing them, or you're bringing them back, and at a certain pitch is going to be your max endurance. So it's putting more load in the engines, it's reducing the RPM, and that's actually going to give you the best fuel economy. So you see max endurance around 160, and we're going to be there in 4 minutes. So not a bad speed. I want to go check on the people, so one of the reasons I went to max endurance was to slow down, because I want to check on the people. So I didn't need to be screaming there at full speed, which is around just under 200 knots. I could get it to 200 knots. One of the ways I could get to 200 knots is bring it down to 3-bladed propellers. 3-bladed propellers would give me less resistance, which I might do, and because it has less resistance, I can get more RPM, and there's a balancing point. More blades going faster, of course, is going to make you go faster, but more blades also gives you more load on the engine, which will make it go slower. So there's a balancing point. You know, people will often be like, well, I added more prop blades and actually it's going slower and it doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense. It's like you, right? Let's say you have a certain size bicep, right? Let's say, you know, you have an average bicep. You're not super strong, but you're also not super weak. And so because you're not super strong and you're not super weak, you can move two canoe paddles in a canoe. And so you can move 2. Well, a guy with a huge bicep might be able to move 4 of them at the same speed that you can move 2. Well, a guy with a really thin, weak arm, he might only be able to move 1. And so that's kind of the relationship is, you know, if your arm can only move 2 paddles, right, which is essentially what a propeller is a paddle. Even some of them they call, you know, Q-tip paddles, you know, on planes. And so your arm can only move 2. Well, you add more, all you're going to be doing is you're now going to be moving slower because you're doing more work and your arms are not strong enough. The guy with the big biceps, he can move 2 paddles faster than you can. So he might be able to go faster if he has bigger biceps. Bigger biceps in this case is a stronger engine. And so he can move those faster. So let's actually back up our heading 309. And so you have to keep that in mind. Just adding a bunch of extra propeller blades might make you go slower because you're putting more load in the engine that reduces the RPM. Well, guess what? Lower RPM, even if you're moving more propellers, might make you go slower. One of the main reasons they add more propeller blades is efficiency. So if I do a 2-blade propeller, I should theoretically be able to get my highest RPM and probably get my highest speed, depending. You know, I could get to the point where my engine has excess power. If your engine has excess power, well, then you can up your props. So, like, I had excess power, so I upped to 4s, and I think I'm going to go back to 3. So we're going over Sawyer South here, as you can see. And so we are currently 1.3 minutes away, so we need to start slowing down. So I'm going to actually start going props forward. We're getting ready for landing now. We're going to go down to 1,000 feet. So I don't want to get behind the airplane. I'm only, like you see, about a minute out. So I am increasing my propeller pitch, which as you can see was making me go faster, but then I start reducing my manifold pressure and slowing down. I'm going to go gear down. Let's see if it happens. It won't. All right, so we're going to be landing on the water anyways. We'll bring them back up. So we're going to be doing a water landing. I will make some checklists for this. All right, so gear is back up. So gear is up for this landing. We're going to go full flaps. I'm going to take the autopilot off, and I need to feel it, and I need to retrim it. So you see the nose is dropping. That's because of all the excess drag that I added. All right, so we're going to go ahead, and we're going to follow the river here. I'm going to give it a big kick of power. We can check our map. We have a railway bridge right here. I'm trying not to cheat, so I know where we are anyway, but I've flown this enough. But let's go ahead and take off map vehicles. But there's a railway bridge right there. So we can consult our sectional and we see a railway bridge right here. This is where we are. Next one should be a drawbridge for cars. So we're going to follow it. There it is, 12 o'clock low right there. There's a drawbridge. So I need to retrim. So we're going to maintain about 113 knots. We're just trying to get there. There we go. We have the wind farm. I'm starting to scud run here and getting close to the mountains here. So I need to keep an eye on it. Full flaps I need to keep an eye on. I have to keep a very high deck angle. When I have full flaps, which is realistic, but you have a higher deck angle, so your nose blocks your view a little bit, so I have to keep that in mind. So we're just putting around at 106 knots here, coming down the river. We want to make sure our propellers are full forward. Talked about this before. The more prop pitch you have, the more load on your engines, and the slower or the longer it takes you to change your engine power, and so you might not be able to change your RPM very quickly, and that will cause crashes. It's awfully foggy, hazy right now, so I think I must not have weather. Let me just check it really quick. Yep, so we're getting foggy here, so I will land it with the natural weather conditions on, but it's getting foggy here. So we have another railway bridge. I need to check this one. Where's that one? Okay, I turned, I think. Let me check where we're going here. We're going north. Okay, we turned a little bit here. We need to go back to the south here. So we need to head south down the river. Not south, west. Jeez. More westerly is what I'm trying to say, but my English. You know, this is, you get very busy. They actually have a thing called sterile cockpit when you're flying professionally, and it's so that you're not supposed to be talking about anything that doesn't have to do with the flight. So we're right around here. We're right by our waypoint, actually. Yeah, we're right by our waypoint. You don't want to. You're not supposed to be like talking about sports or the weather or anything else. Weather you could talk about because it's pertinent to flight, but you're not supposed to be talking nonsense under 10,000 feet. And the reason is you get very busy, and this is where accidents happen. And so you want to be cognizant of that, and so you have to pay attention just to the flight. And so crossing that. All right, so we're coming up. It should be coming up on the right here. We're looking for Holt Town. So again, because I have that anti-flap system, because it's realistic, I have to keep a high deck angle to maintain my altitude, and so it makes it hard to see. But that's how it would be in real life, so you get used to it. All right, so we're coming up here. Hopefully we haven't passed it. I need to move this map here. Getting a little bit busy, and this is why you have sterile cockpit. Is it's just too busy? Okay, we actually passed it. Yep, we passed it. Okay. We're in the lighthouse. That's fine. The fog is making it difficult for me to see, so I'm going to see. Where else could we go? Let's go to the north, and let's go to the island. Okay. So I'm actually going to set a quick waypoint right here. I should be able to visually see it, but the fog is making things difficult for me to see. Okay, so that should give me a bearing. Bearing is 6-2. So I need to turn to 6-2. So here we go, turning to 6-2. So very hard to see in this fog, but I like the challenge. So I'm pretty high too. I'm at 1,300 feet. We're coming around 6-2. So this should be right in front of us. I'm looking for it. So it's tough to see. I can see the landmass is over there, and then right about there, I just keep seeing a little bit of it. So there it is right there. All right, so there is the Hospital Island, I believe. I don't think there's anything else there. No, that's Hospital Island, and this is beginner base right over there. So we found it. But you see how busy you get, and I'm like plugging in GPS coordinates and everything else. And this is why you have that sterile cockpit. Is you really need to focus on the job at hand. You need to call a checklist. You can very quickly get behind the airplane, and I got behind the airplane there for a little bit. And it's dangerous, and you don't want to get behind the airplane. So let's quickly just put it down here. I'm getting in a ground effect. I have a ground effect system that will give me a little bit of extra control and a little bit extra lift. And so that makes it a little bit more realistic. All right, so power's coming down. So I actually only want to come down on my number 2. And as you can see, it's like a handbrake turn. And so now I'm coming back on both. Let's reset both. And so coming down on 2, did that little handbrake turn and turned me right to the island. I'm not going to try to go up against the dock. I don't know what that's going to do. I do have damage on, so. But you see how pulling down on 2 got me like a little handbrake turn, so. I'm just going to power up towards the island here. I'm just trying not to go too fast and do what I'm just doing now and hitting it. But if I go too fast, I can throw it into reverse. And especially in the water, this is important. And then I can put it forward a little bit. And then when I'm ready to stop, I'll put it in beta. So we're forward now. As you see, we're coasting. Now we'll go into beta. So when we're in beta, the props are flat and they're not producing any more thrust. All right, good. So we're ready for shutdown. Let's go ahead and shut down 1. 1's coming down. Let's shut down 2. 2's coming down. And we see the manifold pressure crashing. Let's go ahead and we'll shut off Gen 1 and 2, hydraulics 1 and 2, and then we'll shut off battery B. All right, and we can go ahead and get these people out. All right, how are you guys looking? You are hurting. How are you? You're good. You are hurting. Okay, let's get another one. Pump down on you. Pump down on you. All right, let's get these people out. So hopefully I should be able to fix it. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. So I need to. This is gonna be a pain. I need to put this person here, and then let me see if I can jump out. I wonder if it's the first aid kit. I wasn't. Okay, it's the first aid kit. So he does a position with the first aid kit where it makes it so that his character model's bigger, and I couldn't get in and out with the first aid kit in my hands. So I probably can't get out with this dude. That's fine. So it's actually physicalized, so that's fine. So I can get out like this. I can actually probably even grab the ladder too. Let me try grabbing the ladder. So there's ladder. Beautiful. Okay, so I can do that too. So I don't need the handle outside. Nice, nice, nice. So learning some methodology and how to do this here. So you stand here. Thank you. Ladder. Off. And then grab. Bingo. She keeps losing health. But this is a fun mission. Very fun to get the Seagull out. You know, this isn't, I wouldn't say this is a jack of all trades, but it's, you know, this has a little bit more usage than some of the other ones I've made. And so I made them a little bit weak, you know, and very specific, you know, kind of laser focused on what they, let's do this before I come back to a sunk boat. All right. You know, some of them are, you know, ultra specific, and so for this one I kind of want to make this so they could do a bunch of stuff. So having that cargo compartment, having the ability to put in a little car, I think is going to be cool. That's going to add a lot of utility for me. And so I just need to get the landing gear fixed, and I think we'll be ready to rock and roll. That is a problem, that no landing gear. But I didn't have any issues before. I don't know why it's misbehaving now. So I've flown the same stuff. I haven't worked on the gear in quite a while, and it hasn't had an issue. The doors shouldn't be an issue because the doors are actually commanded by the pivots that move the gear. So that's how I recommend people do their landing gear. A lot of people do timing. Timing is a great way to get your gear hung up. And the reason is, for example, you go in a multiplayer world, you might be operating slower, and so that screws your timing up. If you have a little bit of a hitch in the game, that screws your timing up. So many things can screw your timing up. So what mine does is the pivots that move the actual gear themselves, they report where their position is. And so when the gear is up, you know, when the gear is all the way up, the doors will automatically close. When the gear is in transit, not up, not down, the gear doors will be in the open position. When the gear is all the way down, the doors will close again. And so no matter what happens, like for example, let's say I do a really strong pull-up as I'm taking off, and then I go to put the gear up, well, the actual G-forces will keep the gear down. Well, if you had timing, that could hang the gear up. And so this system actually works pretty well, but I think I know what it is. I think they're rubbing on the ends, and so I just need to put in some new... I need to extend the gear doors so I have one block further. All right, stop following me. Nobody likes you. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if there's any loot crates. Oh, a fox. Let's get a picture of this fox. So very happy to put animals back in. Hey, what's up, guy? Can I rescue you? Nope. He's squeaking at me. He's squeaking and running away. Okay, we have a couple loot crates here, 2 of them. Get a little bit more cash in our pocket. There we go. 8 grand, not bad. So it's nice to get the animals back into it. To shut them all off. Oh, there's another fox. Hello. They're very squeaky, these foxes. All right, nice. There's another 8 grand. So that was 16 grand right there on top. So that was good. Really, this was a fun mission. It was good. Let's see where we're at here. So one of the many reasons why it's important for me to have reverse is, as you can see, we are now up against the island. Well, it's not a big deal if you have the ability to do reverse thrust. I'm trying to get a good picture with beginner island in there too. But, let's do it down on the beach. But you know, it's not hard to push back. I just put it in reverse and we'll slide right back. So it actually lets me beach it a little bit, how you would, and then you know, I can go ahead and just back out. So Kind of nice to have the ability to go in reverse. All right, so what are you? Oh, that was a microcontroller I built on this side, and symmetry was on, so that needs to come off. So I need to look in the gear wells, see what's up with that. Maybe we'll spend the rest of the episode just kind of doing that. I'm gonna fly back, but you know, I want this thing to be an amphibian. So as you can see, we left all the power on. Battery's down to 83%. It didn't take us as long as the last mission, of course, but this one is still this one's still where it was. So you know, we don't have to worry about that. So let's go ahead and start firing them up. So we'll do 2 on start 1. And generator 1. Hydraulics 1. Manifold and RPM's good. Fuel valve 2. Starting them up. 2 spinning. Manifold and RPM are up and stabilized. Hydraulics and gen are on. Let's go into reverse. And as you can see, we're just going to gently back it out. So I can't throttle up in reverse. That's there's a static thrust setting when you're in reverse. I could increase that, but this is essentially idle. I kind of want it pretty slow. I could see there could be some issues if there's a lot of wind, but this is what you can do in a multi-engine airplane. Leave that one in reverse, go up on this side. And as you can see, I can turn in position. So even if the wind was strong, as long as I can get a little bit off the shore, as you can see, we're pretty close to the shore there. The pontoon's almost touching underwater there. And I can rotate us out. And now I'm going to increase this one even more. And I'll just match these up by hand. So what's that, at 593? Okay, let's try to get 593. I just had it. There we go. There we go. And now they're matched. And so we're ready to take off. So let's go ahead and we'll do a kind of a cool takeoff. So we'll do a takeoff checklist here. Let's go ahead and set this to 1,000's fine. What's our current heading? 359, 360. Flaps are set to 1. So quick little takeoff checklist here. We have taken off in the water, so gear is up, parking brake is off, and we're good to go. So we need trim is at 0.3. For takeoff in the water. Don't need that for the land. All right, and here we go, full throttle. Whoa, 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 something's up, something's up, something's up. What the hell's up? Hitch is, okay, trim is good, flaps are set. I think my, you know what, I think my engine was on, was not synced up. Let's sync them both up. What do we have here? RPM. This engine died. Okay. What is it, left side? Left, yeah, this engine died, so. Very dangerous in real life if you get asymmetry. We used to practice that in my multi-engine rating was, you know, as you're taking off, they would pull one of your engines or even pull your mixture and kill the engine. And so you have to pull the other one and stop quickly on the runway. And then they would simulate pulling one as soon as you get in the air. That's even hairier. All right, let's get going here. So one thing I didn't do that I should do, you want to make sure they're both coming up. So you actually check. So you give it a little bit of thrust, as you can see, and you can see them coming up together. That's very important in a multi-engine. You want to make sure that both of them are coming up and they're close. They don't have to be perfect, but they have to be close. And then, so if you notice, that's in view, so I can go like this. That's why it took me so long to lay out this cockpit properly, is things need to be like this. Incredibly important information. All this is incredibly important. Both pilots can see it. So let's go ahead and start going full throttle. See, they're coming up together now. What is going on here? Oh, hydraulics. Hydraulics. I didn't turn my hydraulics on. So if you notice, I don't have enough. My elevators aren't working because my hydraulics are off. So that's part of my system is if I don't turn the hydraulics on, you lose control of your control surfaces because they're hydraulic control surfaces. So let's go into beta. All right, let's start them up again. So let's shut the gens off. Go ahead, start 1. I forgot to turn my hydraulics. I never shut them off, so I accidentally turned them off when I meant to turn them on. So if I had a checklist, that would have fixed it. Let's see. Why is hydraulics not coming on? Maybe I'm in beta, it won't do it. Oh, you know why? I started the wrong engine. There we go, hydraulics. Okay. I'm kind of flustered right now, but it was hydraulics. So I have that system set up so you get only, I think it's, you get like 0.2 of your control surfaces. So you get very little control surfaces. And so, for example, we had a cable elevator in the Embraer 145. So it was actually our yoke, the yoke that we move to control the airplane. It had a cable and a bell crank that would connect to the elevator. So we're actually using cables to control the elevator. But the ailerons, the rudders, were all hydraulic. And so if you had a hydraulic failure, you could still turn them because I think they were cable backups. But it would require 250 pounds of pressure to be able to move the ailerons. And so you needed both pilots, if you had a full hydraulic failure, to be able to turn the airplane. And so you really do not want a hydraulic failure. So now you can see we have hydraulic pressure. So that will go on a checklist. Once it's on a checklist, I won't be screwing this stuff up, hopefully. So let's do a quick checklist. So hydraulic pressure is full. Parking brake is off. Gear is up. Flaps are set to 1. All right, we're good to go. Trim set to 0.3. All right, we're going to come up slowly. Make sure they're coming up together. So it was just the hydraulic failure. We had a hydraulic failure. And so what I'm going to do is put in an annunciator panel. That will give me a warning message if I try, if my hydraulic pressure is too low. All right, they're coming up together, and let's go. Full throttle. And there we go. So that's what it was. I had a hydraulic failure because I never set my hydraulics up right. So that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy, putting those systems in. You don't follow the checklist, you are going to have a hard time. All right, that's coming up. Let's go ahead and let's set a course to home. So let's go ahead. What's my current head? 269. So all right, so let's go ahead and put the autopilot on. Autopilot's job is not to fly the airplane for you. It is workload reduction. So right now I have to do some navigation work. So I am putting the autopilot on just to reduce my workload. And actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do something different. Let me try my gear again. See if I can get them to come down. No, they're hard stuck. Something's up with these. I need to fix them. I'm trying to see what's up with them. But something's up with my gear. They're not behaving themselves. I worked on the gear panel like 9 times, so it's possible I just screwed something up. But what I was going to do is fly over to Dremore and buy Dremore. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to pull this in the bench to work on it later, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's go back to FJ. We can park at FJ. So let's go ahead and we will go to here. All right, so the autopilot, again, its job is not to fly for you. Its job is to reduce your workload. You're still in charge. If it crashes, they don't go, oh, well, it was the autopilot. They go, no, it was you. You know, you still get blamed for a crash because you're ultimately in charge. And guess what? Do you really care if the autopilot crashes you and you die? No. It doesn't matter. What matters is you're dead. And so it's always better. That's one reason I don't like a ton of automation. I trust myself better than I trust the autopilot. I would rather be flying. So again, the reason why the autopilot's been off is I need to put in a larger clamp for the control surfaces because this was designed for a much smaller plane. So this has more control surfaces, so it needs more control surface authority. But I like my little hand-drawn Seagull. I did that by hand. So it came out pretty nice. I like it. It's kind of cartoony, and I like that. That's kind of fitting. I like my paint scheme. It's growing on me. All right, so part of the takeoff checklist, again, we're over 100 knots. I already put the flaps up. Landing light needs to come on, so that one was missed. All right, and we are slowly turning towards our course, which is good. So we're going to start bringing the prop back. We're going to try to find max speed. All right, that's where I get my jitter. I do need to go in there, and I need to fix it's a D value issue. I need to go in there in the pit and fix it. I just haven't done it. That will be more testing of me flying and sitting here and just changing P values and D values and getting it where it stops jittering. because the pit is controlling the propellers. It's controlling the pitch of the propellers. So I say, hey, I want this RPM, and it will give it to me via the pitch of the propeller. So here's about max speed, is best speed. So this is called best speed. So it's your prop setting that will give you the fastest speed, essentially. So it's around 190 knots. So I'm just gently tapping my 2 key. 1 and 2 will bring both props together, and then I can control the props independently if they get if they're not synced. So I went too far. As you can see, we lost speed, so I want to go up again. So I'm increasing. I'm asking for more RPM, which will give me less blade pitch. So this is a good visualization of why, you know, people will be like, oh, I when I do more prop pitch, it makes me go slower. It doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes perfect sense. It makes sense because you know, you need to understand the difference between, you know, of the load and the influence of what happens when load is taken into consideration. You know, as you increase the propeller pitch, it's putting more load in the engines. It's asking it to do more work. It is only so strong. It can only do so much work. Well, guess what happens? It starts to reduce the RPM. It's like you. If I ask, like, say the most you've ever bench pressed was 200 pounds. And I say, okay, and I put 250 pounds on there. And, you know, when you do bench press 200 pounds, you can do 10 reps. Well, maybe when you bench press 250 pounds, you can only do 5 reps. And so that's essentially what it's like, is as you add load, you're able to do fewer and fewer reps. And so it reduces your RPS, your reps per second, your reps per minute, whatever you want to call it. It's reducing the number of reps you can do. And so the same thing's here. The more propeller blades I add, the bigger the pitch. It actually causes more load in the engines. And so if you set your engines up correctly, full prop pitch should not be your best speed. Full prop pitch should be your best endurance. About 75% maybe prop pitch should be your best speed. And that makes it so you can go past that. And then when you go to 100% of your prop pitch, it will actually make it so that you now start putting more load in your engine and you start going slower, or your RPS starts going down, your speed also goes down. Well, guess what? Your fuel burn goes down, and now you're at max endurance. So a lot of people set their, not wrong, but they set them up unrealistically, which is fine. Do whatever you like. But there's a reason why these things are set the certain way they are, is it makes it so that you can, with just your propeller, you can have best speed, best endurance, and that's really helpful. Autopilot's coming off. We're going to get ready for another landing on the water. Start bringing my power back here. We're close and we're high. This kind of reminds me of a slam dunk into DFW. We used to go into Dallas-Fort Worth, and they had an approach where you'd come over the airport at 10,000 feet, and then you'd do a 180 turn, and you'd have to drop from 10,000 feet, and it was for noise abatement. So, you know, back in the day, they used to just take jets off and fly them right over the city. And all the poor people had this screaming 1980s jet, which the old jets were very loud. And because they didn't have high bypass turbofans, so all the thrust came from the core, which is loud. You know, the bypass is just moving air. It's not burning anything. And so they were super loud in the 80s. And so they used to fly over houses, and it was just screaming jets all day long. And so now what they do is they have quieter jets, but they also, you'll stay up at a higher altitude longer, and you'll just drop. And the whole point is to try to keep the noise level down so people, you know, don't jump off their roof. All right, so we're coming in here. We'll do a little, quick landing checklist. Gear is up, parking brake is off. Props are full forward. I didn't do that. So props are going full forward. I screwed that up. There we go. See our speed's picking up as I reduced the load on my engine. So I had to change the throttle. And we're going to try to get this in close. But really enjoying this. This flies very naturally. It flies realistically. It has a lot of realistic systems. I love that sort of thing. It's one of the things that I really love about Stormworks is you want to make something that's simple and easy and a cartoony build that you can just jump in. And, you know, I've seen this people make a plane that once you put your ass in the seat, it will automatically start it, and it's just easy peasy, and there's like one button. And you want to do that, you can do that. You want to make it super hyper realistic, like I try to do, you can do that. And that's what's awesome, is there's no wrong answer. It's a sandbox. Build what you want in the sandbox, and I think that's so awesome about the game. But really enjoying playing lately. You know, big thing was getting that lag fixed for me. That's really made the gameplay a lot of fun. I can get back into missions and actually playing the game, which is I'm really enjoying. The rope update is excellent. The gimbal update is excellent. The devs have really been hitting out of the park with a bunch of these updates, and so, you know, I would ask you go in the discussions on Steam. Put in a positive message if you want to. You know, if you actually think it's a positive step in the right direction for the game, put a positive message in there. There's so much negativity in there. And the negative people, I used to be a negative person for Star Citizen, for example. I used to go in there and put my rants in there. And all I did was I made myself miserable, and I made all the people who were actually enjoying the game miserable. And, of course, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But, you know what? If the game makes you that miserable, move on. You know, go play something else. You know, I was, you know, hyper-focused on Star Citizen, and it was making me miserable, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go play something else, and I found Stormworks, and I'm loving it. And you see a lot of negativity, and a lot of new players will say, oh, everybody's so negative, the game must suck. And what it is if you feel wronged, if you feel like somebody stole your money or, you know, didn't give you value for money for the product, you're more likely to go write a bad review than you are a good review. Like, I've had tons of products that I've really enjoyed. I still haven't written a review for Stormworks because I'm busy playing. And so if you are enjoying it, if you do appreciate what the devs do, it means a lot when you get in there and somebody says, hey, you guys are doing a great job. You know, when I see a good comment on one of my videos and somebody says, hey, I really enjoyed that, it means a lot. It tells you go in the right direction. It tells you people appreciate your work. And so if you do enjoy what the devs have been doing lately, go leave them a message on Steam. You know, they get a lot of negative messages. And you imagine if you go to work every day and you work hard and you do the best you can and all you get is people, you know, hitting you over the head with a newspaper, you know, it's draining. You know, but all it takes is a couple people to say, hey, you're doing a great job. And those hits over the head with a newspaper don't hurt so much. So hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm really enjoying the Seagull. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.